Well, this week I needed to use some yarn, and this is what I found. Anybody, have you ever gone to use yarn and found a tangle like this? I think there are three strategies when we find this kind of a mess. We either throw it out or we give it to someone else to solve. I used to always give tangles to my parents. Or we sit down and we start the long process of untangling the yarn, and it can be long. I wonder, what is a strategy that you would use for something like this? You know, depending on the situation, I think all of these are good solutions, but we have to make sure that we choose the solution that is right for the situation. And sometimes that means we have to untangle the mess, even if we think it's going to be impossible or it's going to take forever. So I wanted to share my 3 tips for untangling with you. My first tip is this: go slow and hold it so gently. If you pull too fast or too hard, you might tie it up tighter and it just makes it harder to fix. But if you hold it loosely, then you allow the yarn to loosen up and you can more easily find the tangles and the knots inside that really need your attention instead of making new ones. The second tip is don't give up, because sometimes when we start to untangle a big mess, it gets worse before it gets better. Right now it's this tight tangle, and then as we untangle it, it becomes a really big tangle. But there comes a moment where we just do the right twist and suddenly all of it makes sense. So it's okay to take a break, but don't give up. And my third tip is don't do it alone. Even if the person you're with can't actively untangle it with you, they can at least keep you company. They can keep you distracted and keep you from getting bored. So don't do it alone. And sometimes having somebody else look at that mess can help us see a new way to get that knot untangled. So be near somebody when you untangle. Laugh at the mess together and sort through the knots together. Okay, so why am I giving you tips on untangling yarn? That's not an everyday problem. Well, sometimes life can look a bit like a mess of yarn. And it feels like these days, when things keep changing and we can't be with friends the way we want to, and we can't do the activities that we love doing, well, maybe a lot of life feels like a tangled mess. But I think the same tips work for these problems too. Go slow and hold it gently. It might seem like a long, slow process and that it's going to drag on forever, but when you feel overwhelmed, instead of rushing to fix it and risking making things worse, breathe. Hold your problems gently. Give yourself space to think, to feel, and to gently find your way forward. 2, don't give up. Sometimes things get messier before they get better. That doesn't mean we've got it wrong. It just means the tangles were more complicated than we thought. So trust yourself, trust God, stick to it. There will come a moment when you least expect it, you will realize the tangles are all unknotted. And finally, 3, you're not alone. You don't have to go it alone. Even if the people you are with can't solve your problem, they can at least keep you company through it. And when there's no one physically there to talk to or get a different idea from, God is there. You can always chat it out with God. You are never, ever really alone. So I'm on my way to untangling this big mess so I can make something new. And it will probably take a long time to get to the end of it. But I've got my tips. I won't rush it. I won't give up. And you have kept me company through this first little bit. So thank you. Well, my friends, let us bless each other through this tangled mess, to know that you and I were in this together and we're here for each other. So may there be love in your heart to give. And may there be joy in your heart to share. And may there be strength in your heart to lift others up.